Welcome back to this, already the final segment of today's Price of Business, and I am your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. Speaking of business, it's your business to keep track of your money, which is why we bring on our money guy, Chris Kidd, part of our brain trust, to help you make good decisions about your money. We often do a lot of cool interviews with professional athletes and those who've dealt with athletes and even entertainers and the financial issues they have to deal with. But it's kind of cool when you bring on a financial expert, which is what you got for us today. How you doing, Chris Kidd?
Great. Fantastic.
Chris Kidd, by the way, you can learn more about him at chriskidd, KIDD.com. And tell us a little more about what you do and then introduce us to your guests.
Well, I'm a financial coach, author, and speaker. My book, Defeating Debt, is something I put together just to help people get out of debt and also just start managing money better. That's one thing that I do some financial coaching on. And also with entrepreneurship, how people can own their own businesses, whether they want to be like a full-time, build a big business, or something they just want that's small that can help them for tax purposes. And also in the investment world, I teach people how to become better investors and be a lot more sophisticated so that they understand what their money is doing and what's going on with it, whether they're managing their own money or whether they have someone who is managing their money. Which brings me to my guest. One of the big things is, as far as really anything to do with business or money at all, is kind of relates with sports, is who's on your team. And this guy is one of the guys that I'm happy to have on my team. He's a guy that we've worked together on things for several years, and we go back and forth and share ideas and things. And he's a fantastic teammate. He's a certified financial planner. He's the author of several books, founder of wallstreetrenegade.com, Jay Peroni, and in fact, he's on to tell us about his latest book, Blood Moons on Wall Street. Great to have you back, Jay.
Hey, great to be back. How you doing today, guys?
We're doing excellent. Why don't you tell us a little more about your background before we get started on your book?
Yeah, I've been a financial advisor now for about 2 decades. Really brought me into the financial world was my grandfather, probably the hardest working guy I know. The guy slaved. He never made more than $40,000 a year. He would work 3-4 jobs. He had 7 kids. His wife didn't work. And he limps into retirement on disability. And he had accumulated quite a bit of money. And eventually the nursing home, taxes, and inflation wiped him out. And here I was as a teenager looking at my grandfather saying, how can I prevent what happened to my grandfather for other people? And that drove me into the financial services industry, and have been here now for about 20 years and help people incorporate their faith and finances together into their financial plan. A lot of people don't consider their faith and values when they invest, and that's what I help bring to the forefront.
Oh, yeah, I do remember you, and you do bring some really timely topics to us. Go ahead there, Chris.
Well, Jay, let's talk about your latest book, The Blood Moons on Wall Street. Where did that come from? And tell us a little bit, the history of it and kind of what people can get from it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know how they say sometimes it takes you 8 times to see something before you really realize it's there?
Some of us more.
It was kind of that way for me. Where, I had clients asking me about, the blood moons and some of these things that were out there. I went to the Bible Prophecy Conference in Orlando last year, and just all these articles that I read in alternative press, and just a lot more people talking about these lunar eclipses and do they have some sort of financial significance, and just looking at the history of the markets as well. As I started putting all these pieces together, I started seeing something that, to me, it was at least putting out there. Again, whether you believe in Bible prophecy or not, whether you believe people can prophesize or predict things, that's kind of besides the issue. I bring that into the book, talk about what are the blood moons, what are these lunar eclipses, what are some of the prominent people like Jonathan Kahn and John Hagee and Mark Biltz, what are these people saying about the blood moons, and how does that relate to the financial markets? And something interesting I learned as I started studying this is there seems to be this pattern going back to 1966 where we're seeing booms and busts. market will boom, then it will bust. Then it will boom, then it will bust. And it's almost in a exact 7-year time frame. And if we look at where the last one was back in 2008, here we are in 2015. And I'm just posing the question, what if another financial crisis happens? Are you financially, spiritually, and physically prepared for that to happen?
That's a great point. And you also mentioned that kind of in the intro to your book. Whether, like you said, whether you believe it or not, you should at least prepare. And the guys, if you look at a sports team, the guys who prepare for everything are the ones who are prepared when stuff happens. When they need it. Those
Absolutely.
who are not prepared, they're the ones that just fall apart when things happen.
Yeah, and I know you like sports analogies, but look at the Super Bowl. The guy who made the heroic catch was a guy who barely made the roster, and just in his practice, he had seen that exact play in practice, and when the play was called on with the game on the line, he had the insight to know, break to the ball, pick off that pass, and that's what won the Super Bowl for the New England Patriots. It was that preparation, that planning, and again, you can go through it time and time again, but if you're not prepared, you're not going to be able to succeed.
That's the ultimate definition of luck, right? Opportunity meaning preparation.
Absolutely.
And that was what happened there, and I will never forgive that coach for that play. But anyway, that was just ridiculous. So kind of give us an overview of your kind of the clients you work with and how you actually engage with them.
Yeah, basically I have clients that come to me looking for incorporating their faith and values into their financial plan. I would say 99% of the clients that I work with are Christian. They're looking to incorporate biblical values into the entire financial plan. They're looking at trying to make sure that the companies that they invest in line up with their faith and values. So we screen out things like abortion, pornography. Some clients don't want any exposure to embryonic stem cell research and tobacco and alcohol. We customize our program for our clients so that we can help them find companies that they can be proud to own. It's not me saying, hey, this is what Jay believes and you're not going to do this or do that. It really brings it back to the client. And I say, what's important to you? What are the types of companies you want to avoid? And also, what are some of the types of companies you want to invest in? If you're into health, maybe you want to invest in organic food companies and exercise and fitness companies. Again, I'm trying to customize the financial plan and the investment strategy based on that person's values and what they place as most important in their life.
That's a great point. It kind of goes back to my deal about having good people on your team. There's no way to possibly do it all, and it's good to have somebody that you can go to for stuff like that. One of the things with the financial markets and everything, there seems to be a lot of stuff around the Jewish calendar on, when to buy, when to sell, and things like that. How does that relate with what's going on with the blood moon stuff? And can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, basically what I noticed was going back to the last major events that happened back in 2008 was right around the end of the Jewish calendar as well. And if we're looking at this year and where things are, if we look at the last blood moon, there are 4 that have taken place. They started in 2014. You had a total lunar eclipse on April 15th of last year. Then there was one on October 8th. And then if you look at this year, the total lunar eclipse took place on April 4th, and the last one is going to take place on September 28th. And then if we look at that whole September-October area, that is where the Jewish calendar is also lining up. So we have this kind of perfect storm if we're looking at it from a symbolic and from a calendar perspective. Could happen, there could be this major financial event that could happen. Again, I'm not predicting that it will, but it's just something that is kind of intriguing, and I want to at least put the information out there so that people can, kind of sort through it, make their own judgment about it, but more importantly, have a game plan that if something does happen, they've got a plan in place to make sure what happened in 2008 and 2001 doesn't happen to him again here in 2015.
Awesome. Got to kind of wrap it up at that point. Let's give your website real quickly for us.
Yeah, you can go to wallstreetrenegade.com. That's WALLSTRENEGADE.com. So wallstreetrenegade.com.
I almost
thoughts?
forgot. Where can people get the book?
You can either get the book on Amazon.com or you can go to wallstreetrenegade.com/blood moons and get a copy of that book.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense to check it out. I appreciate you very much. And final thoughts from you, Chris, with a minute left?
Very, very interesting stuff. It's always great talking with Jay, and I'm looking forward to reading the rest of it.
Yeah, that sounds good. All right. When we come back tomorrow, much more for you. I do want to remind you, best content here shows up over there at usdailyreview.com. And you've been listening to The Price of Business.